Hi everyone, it is Friday at noon. This is Matt. I'm checking in with you all to see how your week is going, to let you know that you all have been in our prayers, Amanda's, mine, Equila's, everyone at the office, and I'm sure in each other's prayers. I hope things are going well for you all. I hope that you're not feeling stressed, that you're not feeling overburdened, overwhelmed, that you're not feeling isolated. I hope our videos this week have invited you to feel each other's thoughts and prayers, connection to one another. Amanda and I started the week with family devotions. We really wanted to reach out to folks because we hadn't seen anyone on Sunday. And that was a really odd and eerie and strange feeling. And we felt that checking in through a brief devotion and prayer would be good. And then Aquila on Tuesday shared her prayers with the community. She held you all up in her prayers and really took that moment to God and took each of you with her in that experience. And then we've also had Maria sharing a nursery wedding, which I hope brought some joy and entertainment to your lives. And then we had some of our Sunday school kids reminding us of the importance of hand washing as they sang Jesus Loves Me. And that was really a great reminder. So today, my goal for you all is I want to update you on how we have been doing a few things as a St. John's community in a challenging time. So primarily, most of you all should know by now that one of my main responsibilities is community outreach. That I'm in some way connected to our groups and ministries that are connected to our communities. And we're still working on figuring that out. But one question that has come up several times throughout the course of the week has been, how are we ministering to our community, especially the neighborhood around St. John's in Lancaster City during this time? And what are our thoughts as we still try to figure out how society is going to operate in this time? Specifically, a number of questions have come up about our food pantry. That is one of our concerns. We want to make sure that people who are in need are having those needs met. Maria has, in particular, volunteered to use her hours, her work hours, to kind of be the staff person on site with that, and that is just fantastic. I'm so thankful for Maria being willing to step in and assist our volunteers. And I wasn't there Tuesday, but I was able to join our food pantry volunteers yesterday. And we had 3 folks there, and we had a number of folks come to the church to receive whatever offerings we could. And we are a blessed congregation. We are able to offer folks boxes of food. And it was explained to me that we fill this vital role in a way that other organizations may not be able to, that we fill in some of these gaps that larger organizations just aren't able to meet because of various requirements. So I was able to see that this really is an important ministry to folks. And so we are, in this time of social distancing, making efforts that are thoughtful to meet these needs. So I want to assure you, at least in that example, that we are still being thoughtful and mindful of the needs of our community, the needs of our St. John's community, the needs of our Lancaster City community. As I was thinking about what I would share with you all, a passage came to mind, and it's one that I think many of us are familiar with, but I hope to, as my homiletics professor would have said, turn the crystal a bit and see it from a different perspective. I'm not going to read the passage to you because I think it is that familiar of a story to each of us, but it's the passage, the parable of the Good Samaritan. We are aware that a person in this story, in Jesus' parable, had a rough encounter and was assaulted and was left to whatever would happen to him as a result of this assault. And then a number of people just passed him by for whatever reason. They didn't want to get involved in the situation, or they had other times or other commitments at the time. And finally, one person did stop by, and it was a person that would that the audience that Jesus was talking to would not have expected. It was the Samaritan. And he stopped by and he bound the man's wounds and cared for him, took him to an inn, paid in advance for the care that was needed. And the way that I want to turn this story and look at it from a different angle is not to examine the people that we might encounter who are in need, but rather the situations that challenge us. And I think right now we're living in a time where our situation challenges us. We are encouraged by the federal government, by the state government, and now even by the local government here in Lancaster to kind of resist the urge to go out in public, or if we do have to go out in public, which we do, to try and maintain our distance from each other. And so that creates a lot of anxiety for a lot of folks. There are folks who fall into higher risk categories. There are folks in low risk categories that may transmit even just common cold and flu symptoms, not just something so severe like COVID-19. But the situation does provoke anxieties, and so I invite us to think about ways that we can be thoughtful and mindful, but not turn into isolationists. Community outreach is about recognizing people who are in need around us. And I think for us in a time when we are kind of dispersed and not joining together on Sundays, this invites us to think about community outreach in our own local communities. How can we help our neighbors? How can we think about the needs that our neighbors are having? Couple of examples that I want to share of how people are staying connected and addressing each other's needs in creative ways. Our rector, Amanda, the other day set up a Zoom conversation with her mother and her sisters. And I hope she's not too upset at me for sharing this. And if she is, too bad. It's too late. But she just took that opportunity to have some FaceTime with her family members who are in central Pennsylvania and up in New England, down in Florida, throughout the area. Another person that I know fairly well, who may also be mad at me because she doesn't like the spotlight, is my mother. She took some time to help her friends stay connected through FaceTime. And so they created a phone tree where one person would call the next person on the line, and they would spend a few minutes talking to each other on FaceTime. And then the last person on the list would call the first person on the list and kind of complete that circle and just check in and remind each other that we are connected in this time. A personal example for me is that I have a close friend out in Phoenix, Arizona, and another close friend down in Virginia, and we used to be in the same diocese and we served similar communities. But when we kind of went to different ministry settings, we tried our best to stay in touch. And so now we are using this time of advanced technology to send short videos to each other, just checking in, see how you're doing in this time of ministry and challenge, and just to hear how life is going in general. Amanda shared a story with a number of folks about her own neighbor who knew that she was going to have kids, home and out of school, and so they dropped off Girl Scout cookies and soft pretzels on their porch. And it's the little things. It doesn't have to be major things. One of my plans is I have a neighbor who recently found out that she is expecting another child. Her husband works full time. They have a 2-year-old. And so now with spring around the corner, or I guess officially here, I plan to go and spend a little time helping them out in the yard. It gets me out of the house. It does something helpful for them. Just another example of how we can be Christ's hands and feet in the world around us. I want to begin to close with you all with a thought that occurred to me as I was preparing for this, that after Jesus' death, the disciples probably were very tempted to just move on with their lives. But instead what they did was they gathered together. And they recognized the pain and the challenge that they were facing, the uncertainty, all those mixed emotions. And they gathered together and they kind of waited it out with each other, and they supported each other in various ways. And even though we cannot gather physically together, we can gather together in ways like this, through social media, through letter writing, through reaching out to people in our community in various and subtle ways. And so I invite you all to think about the ways, and to even share in the comments here, to submit an email suggestion or text me or whatever it is. Ideas that you have for how we can stay connected, how we can especially stay connected to the most vulnerable among us. Ideas that you can share with others. I can always use extra ideas. So I invite you to share your thoughts on what community-based outreach looks like today. The last thing I want to say, that hopefully that this helps you out in some way, that this is not a new normal for us. This is a temporary normal that I trust and I believe we will that we will leave in some way in the future. But this gives us new opportunities to explore ways of doing ministry that we thought we might not have needed. And I think that this will become a part of our ministry in the future. But I truly believe and trust that this social distancing, this isolation, is not going to continue forever. And so I'm looking forward to, and I'm excited about the time when we can get together and we can celebrate being the resurrected body in some way, and that we as a community of faith are going to just rock the foundations of uncertainty, of fear, of anxiety, and really be able to celebrate being with one another again. So until we get to that point, I invite you to continue to reflect, return to these videos. If you need some prayer in your life, go back to Aquila's video. If you need to just take a moment to connect with God, go back to the video that Amanda and I did earlier this week. If you need a laugh, go back to Maria's stuffed animal wedding that she did for the nursery kids. If you need a reminder about childlike innocence and just the beauty of taking life as it comes, go back to the video of the kids washing their hands and singing "Jesus Loves Me." So until we get back together, and as you're watching those videos, I invite you all to keep in mind that this Sunday we are going to gather together virtually through video on our Facebook page, on YouTube, and we are going to share and worship together. We won't be physically connected, but we will be spiritually connected. And so I invite you to join Amanda and Paul and myself as we offer you morning prayer Sunday morning. Keep an eye on our Facebook page and on the website and the blog for more details, specifically about the time and the bulletin that we are going to provide so that everyone can follow along. You'll get to hear Amanda and Paul and I sing, which is going to be awesome. So please do join us. We will be joined with one another as the Spirit connects us despite the time and the place and the space. Thank you guys. God bless. We love you, and we will see each other soon.